Welcome to My Long Island TV. From Manhasset to Montauk, we have traveled our communities to bring you the following events. I'm your host, Waldo Cabrera. Get ready, My Long Island TV starts now.
I have built a small 13-foot by 20-foot museum and TVs and radios that I have collected from over the years, and I study for historical information. Both of these pieces of equipment were used in the trenches of World War I. This item was made by a British company, Marconi, and this one was made by an American company, DeForest, and they were what we refer to as a crystal radio. In the First World War, this was the first use of radio in a war. In 1920, a radio station called KDKA went on the air, and it began broadcasting music and election returns from the 1920 election, and then it began to broadcast radio score, ball game scores, and then programming became popular. They started out by very simple radios. This is a 1921 radio made by my old company, Westinghouse, and this radio is a very simple crystal radio, and it's got this little thing here which is the crystal adjustment. And this radio cost $25 in 1921. I mean, that was maybe more than a week's pay. In World War II, this is the standard receiver used on B-17s, B-24s, B-29s. This was the radio that you would find for the radio operator who would be flying all those missions all over Europe in World War II and over Japan. RCA came up with what they thought was a really clever thing. It was a television camera that could be mounted in the nose of a plane to send back images that the areas the plane would fly over, send these images back to headquarters. And from that developed what we now know as a drone. And a modern version of this camera would sit in the nose of one of these pilotless planes, and it would have bombs on board or have guns on board, and it would do destructive things, and it would be controlled from somebody sitting thousands of miles away. But this is the first one. And this camera still works. I have had pictures transmitted with this camera. In 1941, we have an invention which we're all familiar with. This is what they referred to as the walkie-talkie, and actually handy-talkie. This is the predecessor of all cell phones. This was good for about 1 mile broadcast, 1 mile transmission. And I've got 2 of these units, and I have not operated these, but they will still work. The batteries don't last very long, and it's a very heavy thing, but the developmental work that went into this brought us into our cell phones. And this is, we're talking about 1941-42. This is the first cell phone made by Motorola. We're talking 1984. We're talking $4,000. And it weighs it's about the size of a brick. And it weighs about as much as a brick, and it was referred to as the brick. $4,000 bucks. Now you get them in cereal boxes, almost.